Hello, reporter room investigators. Come on in, come on in. We have breaking news in the Bryan Kohlberger case. We have a lot of new information to go through. So come on in. You guys know I love to get started right away. Today we're going to be talking about new information on Hunter Johnson and Emily Allant. They have come out swinging. Ethan's siblings have broken their silence. New information from Maddie's mom, new information on Dylan Bethany, and the prosecution has clapped back at the defense. And we're going to be talking about trauma. Bryan Kohlberger is claiming trauma. So come on in, tell me where you're from, and let's get started. Bryan Kohlberger is innocent until proven guilty.
Probable cause affidavit, and they don't have to lay out their whole case here. They just have to make up probable cause.
They went through a very lengthy analysis of the cell phone. What people have to understand is the cell phone is not like GPS.
That the scientist and the science behind this, when they do match his DNA with the DNA that was found at the crime scene, I think that will be an extremely important 51%.
This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
Hello, Reporter Room. Okay, so I'm glad you guys are here with me today. Let's go ahead and talk about the Bryan Kohlberger case. Lots of new information on this. Starting with, let me share this. We had technical issues yesterday. I was planning to go live yesterday, but I'm not going to wasn't able to do that. But we're going to be talking about a lot of new information that is coming to light, and there is another special coming. So we're going to talk about the brand new documentary that's coming out on Amazon for Amazon Prime customers. ABC News got an exclusive look. And we also have a key witnesses. That's Hunter Johnson and Emily have both spoken out publicly for the first time in the docu-series. I'm not going to play the preview for you, but I am going to show you some of it. And we're going to talk about what this reveals and what this means for the Bryan Kohlberger case. Now, this new Prime documentary is titled One Night in Idaho, the college Red Room. I'm watching my words here. So we had 3 witnesses speak out, but the most important ones, in my opinion, were Hunter Johnson and Emily Allant. They came out swinging, absolutely swinging, and they are very upset at the way that Dylan and Bethany are being treated. We're also going to be talking about Ethan's siblings. They broke their silence. We have new information on Dylan and Bethany, and Maddie's mom is speaking out also, and the prosecution has clapped back at Ann Taylor and the defense team. So, and we're going to talk about new information on trauma related to Bryan Kohlberger in just a moment, so please stay with me. So Emily Allant, her boyfriend Hunter Johnson, and roommate Josie Lotterin lived just down the street from the King Road home. And on that November morning, they say that one of the surviving roommates called to tell them that she was scared and that she wanted them to come over. So get this. This is really interesting. Let me move myself up a little bit too. So get this. Okay, so they said that Dylan is the one that called, and they said, this is Emily talking. She said, when Dylan called, I didn't think it was urgent, so I started walking down to Xana's house. That's the 1122 King Road home. And when I got there, Dylan and Bethany had exited the house, so they were waiting outside. Seeing her friends in the driveway, Emily knew right away that something was wrong. She said they looked frightened, just hands on the mouth, like, I don't know what's going on type of thing. Now, Hunter Johnson went right inside immediately to investigate what was going on. And he said, when I was going up the stairs, so we already knew that Hunter went into the 1122 King Road house, but we're now learning a few more details. We were just a little bit behind. So this is Emily telling us this part. So as soon as I stepped in the house, this is Josie talking now, the third witness. So Ann Taylor can say that delaying the trial is going to help her with the leaking. It's not. The documentaries are going to continue to come and the leaks are going to continue to happen. It's better just to get the trial underway. So Josie says, as soon as I stepped in the house, I was just like, oh, something is so not right. She said that she could almost feel it. And they didn't know it yet, but their very best friends, Xana, Ethan, Kaylee, and Maddie, had all been done away with. Now, once inside, they found Xana lying on the floor, and that we've all heard the chilling 911 call. And law enforcement arrived on the scene to find all 4 victims had been done away with. Now, Emily and Hunter are now speaking out for the very first time about that day that their friends were done away with in the Prime Video's upcoming 4-part docu-series. So this is going to be a lot longer than what Dateline gave us. This is 4 parts, and I will be reviewing it here on this channel. So if you don't have Prime Video, don't worry. We will be going through it. I can't play it due to copyright, but I can definitely share with you. But done away with in the it's a 4-part docuseries, so we'll be going through all 4 parts together. And it's called One Night in Idaho, the College Schmurders, watching my words, and Hunter realized something happened. So Hunter was the first one to realize the tragedy. And we've heard Hunter on that 911 call telling everyone to go outside, rushing everyone, get out, he said, while he was on the phone with dispatchers. And Emily said, well, we're a really big group of friends. Why would you target those 4? Why Ethan, Kaylee, Maddie, and Xana? And there's a big realization that we had been stalked for so many months that and had no clue. So to be clear, the stalking statute, Bill Thompson and the prosecution and Ann Taylor and her defense team cannot use the term stalking in court because legally in Idaho, for it to be qualified as stalking, it has to be, the victims have to feel threatened or in fear in some way. I don't think that these victims knew that he existed. And now hearing from Emily and Hunter and Josie, I think that makes it really, really clear. But a layperson like Emily can certainly use the word stalking if that's what she feels like. And we're going to talk about Ethan's siblings and right now, and then we're going to talk about the breaking new information on Dylan and Bethany. Maddie's mom speaks out. The prosecution claps back, and the defense claps back at the defense team. And then we're going to talk about BRYAN KOHBERGER's trauma in just a moment. So please stay with me. So Ethan's siblings, for those of you that don't know, Ethan was the oldest of triplets. His siblings were Hunter and Maisie. Now, I don't want to confuse Ethan's brother, Hunter, with Ethan's friend, Hunter. Okay, so Hunter Johnson is the friend. He's the one that told everybody to get out, get out. And Ethan's siblings are Hunter and Maisie Chapin. Now, they were also attending the University of Idaho, and they graduated, and they didn't have their brother to walk across the stage with them. But it would be hours before Hunter and Maisie Chapin both learned that their brother had been done away with. And so Hunter Chapin said, there's this person out there who has just done away with our brother. I'm watching my words here, and he's still out there somewhere. Now, Ethan's parents and siblings were featured in this Amazon docuseries, which is coming up, and Maddie Mogen's parents were interviewed also. And the docuseries premieres on July 11th on Prime, exactly 1 month before the trial is scheduled to begin, and just a few days before. And let me move this forward. So I can't play this for you, but I will link it in the description below. But I do want to just let me see. Okay, just in case anybody comes by, what are they talking about? So I want to talk about Dylan and Bethany next, and then we're going to talk about the prosecution clapping back, because we have some new information on Dylan and Bethany, and then we're going to talk about BRYAN KOHBERGER's trauma in just a moment. So please stay with me. So Dylan, at around 4 a.m., we know Dylan came face to face with the masked intruder, She told investigators that she heard disturbing noises inside the home, and after opening her bedroom door, she saw a man dressed all in black, wearing a balaclava type ski mask, and he was 5'10" or taller. Now Dylan is 5'10", so she was probably comparing to her own height, and he had bushy eyebrows. Now she was texting all of her roommates to find out what was going on, and the only one that was responding to her was Bethany. So we already know about the text messages. They were texting back and forth. Nobody's answering. This is what Dylan texted Bethany, according to Kate court records, what's going on. And then she sent to Kaylee Gonzalez, what's going on. In another message, Dylan texted Bethany, I'm freaking out, and described an intruder wearing a ski mask, almost. Like a ski mask, almost, are her exact words. I had somebody coming in telling me that Dylan didn't mention the ski mask to law enforcement until the second or third interview. That may or may not be true. We certainly have not seen the body cam footage from the interview, so we don't know for sure. But we do know that the text messages have been released, and she did talk about this ski mask, almost. So, and she drew a balaclava mask for law enforcement. So I don't know why some people just cannot, like, have to hang on to the fact that Dylan and Bethany, are somehow implicated in this. I don't know what else to do. I'm just going to keep reporting out quality information. Dylan ended up running from her room to the second floor down to Bethany's room on the first floor, and they stayed there until the next morning. Now, cell phone records released court docs showing that both Dylan and Bethany texted their roommates and other people and accessed social media platforms over the next 8 hours. Now, I believe that they were probably looking for posts from their friends and maybe messaging their friends on social media. So with no response from Ethan, Kaylee, Xana, or Maddie, Dylan calls Emily Alant and asks her to come over and check the house because she was scared. So Dylan was only 19 years old. She was the youngest roommate in the house, and she was too scared to check the house by herself. But you can see they did not want to call law enforcement. And I believe this is so speculation alert. I believe this is because Dylan was drinking. She was underage. The legal age in the United States is 21. Dylan was only 19, and she was probably afraid of getting the older roommates, Kaylee and Maddie, in trouble because they were over 21, or maybe she was afraid of getting herself in trouble. Now, Emily and her boyfriend, Hunter Johnson, came over and they met Dylan and Bethany on the bottom floor of the 1122 King Road home. And you guys know it's a 3-story house. And Hunter, Bethany, Dylan all made their way to the second floor, with Hunter going into the kitchen to grab a kitchen knife. This is according to the documents. Now, at that moment, the students saw Xana lying on the floor, and they recalled that horrifying moment in the trailer. So we're going to hear from Hunter and Dylan, Hunter and Josie. Dylan and Bethany has still not spoken out, and also Emily in this docu-series. But Hunter's a female voice, we heard this on the 911 call, said, I stepped foot in the house, and immediately Hunter was like, get out. Somebody called 911. Now let's talk about Bethany, and then we're going to talk about BRYAN KOHBERGER's trauma and the prosecution clapping back at the defense. So Bethany made a panicked 911 call that was placed from her cell phone. And in that call, you can hear Emily Alant. She is speaking to the dispatcher saying that they saw some man in their house last night. Now, we probably will not hear Emily on the 911 call because some of that has been redacted for the jury. So although the jury will get to hear the 911 call regarding what Bethany and Dylan said, even though Ann Taylor tried to suppress this evidence, the judge said no, it fell under excited utterances with the roommates, but he was going to suppress, I think, comments made by Emily. And we're going to talk about online threats too, and what these young people have been subjected to. Now, the Prime Video series premieres on July 11th, and it marks the first time that Emily and Hunter and Josie have spoken out about what they saw and witnessed on that day, and going through the trauma of finding out what happened to their friends. But they reveal that they were subjected to online rumors and threats. And Hunter said, this is really sad. Let me see if I can pull up a bit. Hunter said that, let me pull this up. because this is just really, really sad that they had to even go through this. Let me see if I can pull this up. I need this one. Sorry, you guys. I'm trying to see if I have a picture of Hunter handy. Let me see if I can pull it up on this. I wish I could play it for you, but I can't due to copyright. This is Maddie's mom. We're going to talk about her parents in just a second. That's Maddie when she was little. There's Kaylee. All right. So I believe this is Emily right here. And I'm just looking. There's the iconic photo that we talk about. And that's okay. So that's Emily. And then they're going to show Hunter too. And there's the triplets. Okay, so this is Ethan Chapin, his sister Maisie, and this is his brother Hunter. And that's his brother talking there. All right. So let me put this back up. Okay, now, Brian. Okay, so they were such beautiful young people. You're right, Melissa. Okay, so they got all kinds of online threats, you guys. This is really sad. They said people were thinking that they had done away with their friends. And Emily says that they were getting threats against their life, like unalive them threats. And another friend reveals that photos of his home were posted online, and he was accused of, quote, having something to do with it. So the series dives into the online rumors and speculation that filled the void, with the surviving roommates and some of the victims' friends facing shocking accusations. And there was, this is before Bryan Kohlberger was arrested, but some of this has continued on even after he was arrested. Like, people are still impugning Dylan and Bethany as having something to do with it, even though they've been charged with nothing. They haven't been charged with anything. Their only crime was that they survived and didn't call law enforcement right away. And I'm sure we're going to find out during their testimony why they didn't call law enforcement. But I think it has more to do with the underage drinking than it does with anything else. But Hunter and Maisie also attended the University of Idaho. Of course, they were not there because Ethan was spending the night with Xana. That night, he didn't live there. But they said that there's one person out there that had just done away with their brother, and he's still out there. This is Hunter talking, Hunter Chapin. And the show also features new interviews with other friends and family members of the victims, including Ethan's parents, Stacy and Jim Chapin, and Maddie's parents, Karen and Scott Laramie. Now, Bryan Kohlberger was arrested on December 30th of 2022. He was 28 years old at the time, and he is 30 years old now. So let's talk about the leaks that are, and then we're going to talk about Maddie's mom speaking out, the prosecution clapping back at the defense, and Bryan Kohlberger's trauma. Will this help his defense? So let's talk about the leaks in this case. And the leaks, and I do, please come on in. Tell me where you're from. If you're just joining me, we have breaking news in the case. The defense for the Bryan Kohlberger appears to have requested a special investigation into the alleged leaks. We knew this it related to the NBC Dateline special last month, but the prosecutors, they are not having it at all. They are not having it. They're nope, nope, and nope. Okay, so let's talk about that. So my sourcing on this is the Daily Mail. It's also the Idaho Statesman. Um, but okay, so let's talk about this. Can you guys hear me okay? Just a quick yes or no. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Yes. Thank you, Donna. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Thanks, and Jess. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Christy. Thanks, Midwest. Okay. So thank you guys. I just wasn't sure if you guys could hear me. All right. So if you think that it was okay for people to threaten Hunter and Emily, put a 1 in the chat. If you feel like it was not okay, we're going to do a poll to threaten anybody, put a 2 in the chat. But let's, while you guys are doing that, let's talk about the prosecutors clapping back at the defense. So they, in a motion, filed um, in a response to Ann Taylor, who wants another delay. And he ordered that the filing be sealed. But the case summary also indicated that the defense filed a motion for access and fair investigation and an objection to release of privileged and confidential work product on Wednesday, where the judge also sealed this. The sealed records were not released publicly through the judge's sealing orders, but will eventually become public, according to the Idaho court's spokesperson, Nate Papino. He told this to the Idaho Statesman. So that's my sourcing on this. So special prosecutor may be appointed by the judge, but I don't know if this is going to happen. He may try to find out what happened if he needs that to happen, but I don't think it was the prosecution who leaked this. I don't think, I just don't think Bill Thompson's going to tank his reputation in front of this judge. He's just not going to have it. There's no benefit to him getting a delay either. So at the public hearing, the judge stated that he held a closed door portion earlier the same morning when the Ada County judge said he was open to bringing in a special prosecutor. Now, that person would be tasked in investigating potential violations of the judge's gag order that by law enforcement or the prosecution or the defense for information that was released in the Dateline NBC episode. So we knew that the judge had said he was open to doing this, but we had not heard that this has happened. So Boise-based criminal defense attorney Edwina Elcox told the Idaho Statesman that the filing appeared to be about the appointment of a special prosecutor. She said that's exactly what that is, she said in a phone interview, because obviously Judge Hip, that's what we call him, invited it, and that's the way the formal request would be made. They do everything through motion practice. So the way you get that done is to ask for a formal inquiry, and the court would appoint a special prosecutor. So it sounds like maybe we are going to get one. The judge also issued orders to the prosecution and the defense to retain all their records and correspondence related to the likely violations within 7 days. So we know that's already been done. And each side filled a related notice of compliance to the court on May 22nd, with the prosecution also submitting a supplemental filing on the matter the next day. So we're going to talk about Maddie's mom and some new information on her. We're going to talk about the prosecution clapping back to Ann Taylor and BRYAN KOHBERGER and his trauma in just a second, but I want to see where we are in the poll. So if you feel like the roommates, that it's okay for people to just go ahead and I'm just looking for the 1s and the 2s. Hey, Per Anderson. Thanks, you guys, so much. Okay, so Vicky put a 2, Claire 2, Donna put a 2, Barbarossa put a 2, Chris Ann 2, 2, 2. So nobody, it sounds like people do not think that it's okay. Enjaz says 2. Thanks for modding today, Enjaz. Betsy put 2, 2. Mrs. Magoo said 2, not okay. Jolene put 2. So it sounds like no matter where you are on this case, nobody thinks that it's okay to go around threatening people, which is really good to know. Common Sense says 2. DM, thank you for modding, says 2. D says 2. Christine, thank you for modding, 2. 2. Per Anderson, thank you for modding. Christy, thank you for modding. Well, thank you for the thumbs up, Beth. Really appreciate that. If you put a thumbs up, tell me what number you are. If you're one, like Beth put, she put the like and then 139. Bella 2, Laura 2. Pam says trauma. What does he think he put others through? If he's guilty, of course. Yeah. Hayes put 2. Brother Mike put 2. Beth, you made it. Yay. Carrie put a 2. Tracy 2. Per Anderson 2. Michael says he is thumbs up number 127. Thank you for that, Michael. Christy says hello. Veronica put a 2. And Rosie put a 2. And Carrie, I'm glad you're here today. All right. So Jet said, I'm here. I'm late. I'm trying to catch up. Now, you guys know whenever you're watching a live stream, you could always back it up to the beginning. So Nikki says, I'm livid because I watched the preview from the Amazon preview. Hearing them being threatened is disgusting. I agree. Brother Mike said 622 in chat and 131 pressed the thumbs up. Thank you for that, Mike. All right. So Tammy put in a 2. All right. So we have a lot of 2s. And I also want to say thank you to NJazz for gifting a Reporter Room membership. That is really nice of you. Thank you so much, NJazz. If you got that Reporter Room membership, please make sure you say thank you to our head mod, NJazz. Thank you to our other head mod, Brother Mike, for the $1.99 super sticker. That is really appreciated. Thank you so much. I am putting that toward editing equipment for the channel. Thank you, Leslie. Keep it real for the 99-cent super sticker. That is so sweet and generous of you. Thank you so much. I look forward to putting that toward editing equipment for the channel. And Donna Bravo, thank you for the $2.99 super sticker. That is so kind of you. Thank you for your support. And of course, I will be putting that toward editing equipment for the channel. So I want to buy a new editing package. Claudia says, I hate when people try to blame illnesses or mental health issues for their crimes. No excuse. Yeah, and I think, and Beth put in it too, I think anybody that commits a crime is going to have some type of mental health issue, but we're going to talk about it. Nikki said, these conspiracy theories are horrible and to the point that I'd be suing for distress. They must be stopped. My understanding is that the roommates do have attorneys. Dabs put a 2. And we know that during the Chris Watts case, Shanann's family successfully sued a content creator right off the platform, sued him and won, and then he was removed from the platform. Okay, so we have a lot of 2s. Okay, so let's talk about Maddie's mom is speaking out. Let me change this. And let me just put up. Let's put this one up just so anybody who comes by knows what we're talking about. Okay, so that is Emily there with hugging Bethany. So we have Emily, Bethany, Xana, Kaylee, Dylan, and Maddie. All right, so Maddie's mother, her name is Karen Laramie, has also been speaking out. She's opened up about her feelings regarding the trial delays. She said, quote, I don't have a lot of comments on that. She said, I would say the legal system is not about the victims, and I'll leave it at that. And I agree. I think that we are down a road where it seems like the victims and their rights have been completely forgotten about. And victims have rights to a timely trial as well. And instead, it's just all about the perpetrators in these crimes. They become infamous, and the victims are just, thrown by the wayside, not even getting updates sometimes. So we have this new documentary that's going to be premiering on Amazon on July the 11th. I will be going through, it's a 4-part series. I'm going to go through all of that. But I want to talk about the prosecution clapping back at the defense. And then we're going to talk about BRYAN KOHBERGER's trauma. Will this help him in the defense? So the prosecution has clapped back at the defense team in a new court filing. The prosecutors are pushing back, rubbishing claims a delay would make it easier, because Ann Taylor's claiming that it will be easier to seat an impartial jury, and later because of the Dateline NBC documentary. And I told you guys that I did think it was nonsense, because there's always going to be another documentary. There's always going to be another book being published. Because if there's a book being published, she wants the trial to just be moved back indefinitely. But listen to what the prosecutor said, because he is not having it. He said, quote, the defendant's motion amounts to a request for a perpetual continuance so his counsel can go down every rabbit hole until the defendant, rather than the court, deems himself ready for trial. This is from prosecutor Bill Thompson. So he is not having it. The prosecution feel like Bryan Kohlberger's defense team has had the same amount of time that they've had to prepare for trial. And remember, it was Ann Taylor that chose summer of 2025. She picked it. The prosecution wanted to go earlier. They were ready. So the fact that she's not ready may, I'm not sure I'm buying it that she took another capital punishment case, but can't be ready for this one. I don't think so. So in a 22-page filing, the prosecutors acknowledge that there has been intense publicity surrounding this case and that the Dateline episode does pose challenges to the trial. So nobody's minimizing that, but they're arguing that whether or not Bryan Kohlberger can receive a fair trial depends on whether a fair and impartial jury can be seated, not on how much pretrial publicity there is around this case. And as I've shared with you, the pretrial publicity and the specials, because now we have another one on Amazon, and books, those are just going to keep coming. But Bill Thompson isn't done. He's not done. He is clapping back at Ann Taylor. He says, there is no doubt that the publicity surrounding this case, including but not limited to a recent Dateline TV show containing non-public evidence, poses challenges for the court and both parties. He's talking about the defense and prosecution here. However, defendant's reliance on the Dateline episode to support his motion is misplaced for several reasons. Here, the court's carefully crafted jury selection process has every chance to produce an impartial jury. Suffice it to say, if an individual has been so impacted by the Dateline episode or any other publicity that they cannot be impartial, they will not be seated as a juror. Remember, they can do a voir dire. Even in the Lori Vallow case, they were able to get an impartial jury in Arizona by doing voir dire, just simply making sure that they didn't know about the case. And she had not only had a lot of pretrial publicity, but she had actually been convicted in Idaho for doing away with her two children, Kaylee and JJ, and also Chad Daybell has also been convicted and in doing away with Chad Daybell's wife. So now she's been found guilty in Arizona for conspiracy on top of all the other convictions. She was also convicted in Arizona for doing away with Charles Vallow. So if they can seat a jury in that one, they can seat a jury on this one. Nobody's been to trial, and Lori had been through 3 trials before her most recent one. So he talks about, dealing with the high-profile case of Lori Vallow Daybell and the cult mom and the Chad Daybell. So the prosecutors also argued, because they are not done, they really sounded upset that the granting a delay would not reduce the publicity around the case, instead arguing it would only allow more opportunities for pre-trial publicity and make it harder to seat a jury. I agree. I think the pre-trial publicity is going to continue to amp up. The Amazon's now coming out with Amazon Prime with their 4-part special, and there's going to be more. So proceeding the trial as scheduled may actually avoid any negative consequences from future publicity. So he's just saying it's what Ann Taylor is claiming is nonsense. In the prosecution's response, they also questioned the timing of Ann Taylor's request. They argued that since Bryan Kohlberger's December 2022 arrest, his legal team has managed to meet other deadlines set by the judges in the Latah County and here in Ada County, including by disclosing 6 expert reports for the penalty phase. This is what the defense has done, disclosed over 2,100 pages of purported mitigation materials. They've listed 55 penalty phase witnesses and identified 132 exhibits that Ann Taylor will introduce during the penalty phase of the trial. So he's saying they're not only are they ready, but they're ready for the penalty phase. Bill Thompson's still not done with Ann Taylor. He says, but now, after all the discovery deadlines have passed and after the court conducted the pretrial conference, the defendant seeks a trial continuance of an unspecified length. Bill Thompson argued that based on court records, Bryan Kohberger's defense team has already plowed, quote, plowed the necessary ground, end quote. He stated, "It's time to try this case. The defendant was arrested in late December of 2022 and was indicted in May of 2023. He wrote this in his legal brief. While publicity surrounding this trial is a challenge, the defendant has not shown and cannot show that continuing this trial will make things any easier. It's just as likely that a delay will make it harder to seat a jury." So we're going to talk about Bryan Kohberger's trauma. Will this help or hurt his defense in just a moment? So please stay with me. But let's continue on with Bill Thompson's, and then we're going to talk about victim family rights because he brings this up. And I talked about this on this channel about a week ago, and he brings it up in his argument too. So he pointed to numerous experts retained by the defense, including five mental health professionals who can, now we only heard about two. So what did the other three learn? Who conducted a, quote, deep dive into Bryan Kohberger's life. He said this contradicts the defense attorney argument that they need more time to conduct a full social history of their client's life. So we hadn't heard about that they wanted time to conduct a social history. So let's talk about victim families' rights because the prosecutor did. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold from last week. I beg your pardon. So the prosecutors also pointed out that the victims' families' rights, thank you, Bill Thompson, have a right to a timely trial. They argued that the Idaho Constitution guarantees victims' families the right to a timely disposition, which would be violated by a delay. And even sticking with the current timeline, the trial will only wrap up around the 3rd anniversary of the crimes, of the November 13th crimes. So under the Idaho state constitution and law, the victims' two roommates who went physically unharmed during the attack, alongside the immediate families of the students who were done away with, so that's Kaylee, Maddie, Ethan, and Xana, all six of them and their families have the right to a timely disposition of this case. This is Bill Thompson, prosecutor speaking. He said, the victims' rights and their desire for justice weigh in favor of proceeding to trial as scheduled. He said, while the term timely disposition is not defined, it must mean that at some point a trial court can decide that the administration of justice outweighs a defendant's desire to continue preparing his defense. Now, the parents of Kaylee, so that's Stephen Christy Gonzalez, vented frustration last month over a possible postponement on their family Facebook page that is dedicated to Kaylee. So we don't have a ruling yet from the judge on whether or not, even that if the defense can, we don't know. What we don't know is we don't know if the defense is going to be able to present an alternative suspect. We know Ann Taylor gave information to the judge about it, but she sealed it. And I think if she really had an alternative suspect that she thought the judge was going to accept with actual evidence, I think that she would not have put in to seal it. Let me know if you have a different feeling on it. I think she would want us to know who the alternative suspect was. And then let's talk. We talked a little bit about the leaking. We still don't know who did it. And we're going to talk about Bryan Kohberger's trauma in just a second, but I wanted to finish talking about this delay and the leaking. So another delay benefits only Ann Taylor and the defense team. It doesn't benefit Ethan's family. It doesn't benefit Kaylee's family. It doesn't benefit Maddie's family. It doesn't benefit Xana's family. It only benefits Bryan Kohberger and Ann Taylor. It doesn't benefit Bethany or Dylan either. And so it only, and the judge has characterized Dylan and Bethany as also being victims when he decided he was going to reserve seats for them to sit through the whole trial. So I think that all of the delays have benefited Bryan Kohberger, and his family is getting to come in and sit and watch the whole trial, even though they're going to be called as witnesses. But, at what point are we as a justice system going to look at the victims here in the United States and consider them to at least be equal to the perpetrator? I don't think what Bill Thompson is asking anything more than for the victims to have the same rights as the perpetrator in this. And it was BRYAN KOHBERGER who chose to waive his right to a speedy trial. So I want to talk about BRYAN KOHBERGER's trauma. Will this help the defense team? And then some new information on the witnesses in just a second. So please stay with me. Come on in. Tell me where you're from. Per Anderson says, yeah, I just passed one of the most dangerous on the South America every week, a long list, no-go zones. Oh boy, that does sound scary. Hey, Heather, nice to see you. Janine says, I usually watch from the weeds on TV, but I had to comment on my iPad today. I agree that it was probably defense that leaked. There is no upside to the prosecution to leak it, in my opinion. I agree. I don't see a benefit to that, to them leaking at all. And Mail Mama says, Ann Taylor has had 2.5 years with tons of available help to her. So what the heck has she been doing? Are they waiting for witnesses, experts to kick the bucket or what? Or simply forget? Well, it does. Yeah, that's a common tactic. Warren said, Ann Taylor is in a hole, which is getting deeper. Shame on her. Jennifer said, I'm a hockey fan. Not many Southern girls know about hockey. Leanne says, I am originally from Toronto. Welcome, Leanne. And Brenda says, want the Prime documentary, just give Ann Taylor more fodder to ask for more time to get ready for the trial. Well, it does, but there's just going to be there's just going to be another documentary. So I mean, how many there's going to be another book. There's always going to be another documentary. But if they can seat a jury in the Lori Vallow Daybell trial, which just finished, and we know that they had to seat a jury in this conspiracy where she conspired to do away with her niece's husband. It was unsuccessful, but she had already not only had trial and lots of pre-trial publicity, but she'd actually been found guilty, and they still seated a jury in Arizona. They still managed to seat a jury that didn't know who she was. So thank you so much, Enjaz, for the 10 pounds. She says, thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your great work. Enjaz is one of our head mods, along with Brother Mike and 6 Cents Amelia. So thank you so much. Ron said, I had the impression that the Judge Hip wanted the alternate subject sealed until at least he sees the actual evidence. Well, Ann Taylor filed the motion, and she's the one that requested it be sealed. But maybe he told her to request it, but it didn't say that. So Urban says, BK decided that Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan had no rights. Yeah, where are their family rights? And Rebecca said, I'm late, but I made it. I'm glad you're here. And Leslie's from Oregon. Welcome. Come on in. Tell me where you're from. Betsy said, exactly. If I were innocent, you bet I'd be asking for a speedy trial. And we're going to talk about BRYAN KOHBERGER's mental health, his trauma in just a second. But she said, if I were innocent, you bet I'd be asking for a speedy trial. I'm not asking for a gag order. I'm taking polygraphs, even though it isn't admissible. The fact I could pass could be public. And Donna says, let's continue to pray that Judge Hip says, let's move on. Kathleen said, if Ann Taylor needs more time so badly, she has had long enough. Too bad. She's had long enough. Thank you, Brother Mike. All right. So let's continue on because we have a lot of information to get through. Per Warren says, per Anderson. Oh, okay. They're talking about something else. All right. Let's continue on. And I do want to, so this is what I'm showing you right now are pictures from the document, the preview. I can't play it for you. But because of, but this is Emily. Okay. I just want to show you who some people, this is Emily. Now you're going to see her on the stand. And more people are speaking out. And these are Ethan. This is Ethan Chapin. You guys know that. This is his sister, Maisie. And this is his brother, who is also named Hunter, not to be confused with Hunter Johnson. So Hunter Chapin and Hunter Johnson are both talking in this 4-part series on Amazon, which begins July 11th. So let's leave this beautiful photo of the girls. So let's talk about BRYAN KOHBERGER's trauma. Will this help his defense? So BRYAN KOHBERGER's secret past trauma and teenage addiction battle are expected to fall under the spotlight at his upcoming trial. His defense fights to save him from capital punishment. So a lot of people feel like, you know, you reap what you sow. And if he is guilty, and I'm not saying that he is, we do have the presumption of innocence in this country, but I'm not a judge. You're not a judge. This isn't a courtroom. But in the new court filing, hitting back at BRYAN KOHBERGER's 11th hour bid, his last minute bid to delay the trial, prosecutors pointed to a trove of information uncovered about BRYAN KOHBERGER's past. Among them are details of past trauma, including records about a childhood car accident that BRYAN KOHBERGER was involved in. So this Ann Taylor has time to talk about a childhood car accident. How many of you were in a car accident as children? Put yes if you were in a car accident as a child. No if you were not in a car accident as a child. I'm going to say yes, I was in a car accident. I want to know how many of you guys were in a car accident as a child. I just let that sink in, that this is going to be presented. That they're going to be talking about this detail of the accident, including when and where it occurred. We don't know when BRYAN KOHBERGER had this car accident, and we don't know if BRYAN KOHBERGER suffered any injuries in the car accident. But I think most of us probably were in a car accident as a child. Let me know yes if you were in a car accident, or no you were not. But the filing states that the incident is documented in the defense reports from mental health experts, and that his family members can testify about the apparent trauma that he endured. So we're going to hear about a autism diagnosis that wasn't done until he had been sitting in jail for 2 years. That's when that was done. We're going to be hearing about how he couldn't tie his shoes when he was 4 years old. And now we're going to be hearing about a car accident that he was in as a child. You know, I don't even know what to say. So were you guys in a car accident? Carla says, I was in 2 car accidents, was a child. Did you do away with anybody? If anybody in a car accident and you did away with someone because of it? Because I was in a car accident and I've gone my whole life. I've managed not to do away with anybody. Claudia says, so many channels here on YouTube trying to help Ann Taylor defend BRYAN, using all kinds of conspiracies, even saying the victims are alive. Oh, I saw that. I don't remember where. Please don't name any channels, but I did see that. And saying that, blaming their own parents' issues. That is really sad. Kat said, I was in an accident at 27. I'm so sorry, Kat. I'm so sorry for your loss. Jamie says no. Patricia says no. Heather says yes. Christy says no. Dion says yes. Vicky says yes. Jolene says no. Betsy says a teen. That's considered childhood. Karen says no. I was in a car accident. I was a teen as well. I was a freshman in high school, and one of my friends was driving, and we got in a car accident. Good Trouble says my parents were great drivers. Alfie said yes. Anderson says no. D. Parker says no. Mama says yes. So do you think being in a car accident as a child is an excuse to do away with somebody? Should that be a mitigating factor, even if you were seriously injured? I'm just curious what you guys think about that. Ron says yes. Michelle said not as a child. Leslie said yes, a fender bender. And Brother Mike says, poor little BRYAN KOHBERGER. Leanne said, I was, but I didn't commit a crime. Deborah says no. Urban says not me. Lavon says no. Brandy says the driver got arrested. Oh my goodness. Hi, thanks for modding today, Dabs. Christiane said, being in a car accident doesn't make you an unaliver. Bree says that I was in a Bronco and it rolled over and I'm fine. Ashley said, I'm late. Remember when Judge Hip brought up the leak. He was not happy and opined the leak came from the state law enforcement. Why didn't Bill take issue with this? Shocked me that a judge would say that. Well, I think it's most likely, this is just my opinion, I think it's most likely we're going to find out that it came from law enforcement. That's like maybe a former member, retired member of law enforcement. I just don't think that the prosecution did that. But let's talk about this BRYAN KOHBERGER's trauma. Will this help or hurt his defense? As a juror, if you found out that somebody was injured in an accident when they were little, would this make you feel like they shouldn't suffer the consequences if they're found guilty of doing away with someone? I'm just curious. But the filing states that the incident is documented in the defense reports from mental health experts and that his family members can testify about the apparent trauma that BRYAN KOHBERGER endured. And let's talk about new information on the witnesses. So I told you guys last week about the 5 witnesses in Pennsylvania that were subpoenaed to testify in his upcoming trial. I did tell you at the time I was speculating a little bit, but I did tell you I thought they were defense witnesses, and now I think we pretty much can say that they are. They include Ann Parnham, Brandon Andreola, Jesse Harris, Maggie Sanders, and Ralph Vecchio, and they must appear for the hearing that's coming up later this month in Eastern Pennsylvania on the matter at the end of the month. So Ann Parnham and Maggie Saunders have ties to the local public school district that BRYAN KOHBERGER attended and later worked part-time for as a security officer. The fact that he worked part-time as a security officer, and if he did do these crimes, is terrifying in my opinion. But Ann Parnham was a teacher and an administrator before she retired in 2022, while Maggie worked as a school counselor. So it sounds like we're going to hear a lot about BRYAN as a child. Brandon Andreola is a childhood friend of BRYAN KOHBERGER's, and Jesse Harris owns a gym where BRYAN KOHBERGER kickboxed after school. Now, we still don't know how Ralph Vecchio knew BRYAN KOHBERGER. He did not respond to a request from the Idaho statesman on this. So we don't know. Hopefully we will find out more. So this is the pictures, and I just want to tell you who's who. Make sure we're all looking at the same one. Yeah, let me move myself down here. Okay. And I'll make myself a little smaller. I don't want to block Xana. Okay, so let's look at who's who in these images. So this is Hunter Johnson, and you guys have seen him. I believe this is one of these is Emily. There's Xana. And I think these are some of their friends. So I don't know everybody's name, but I do know Hunter's face. And this is I think this is going to be Josie and Emma right here. And then this is Xana right here. You can see she's got her glasses on. And I believe, let me see if I can make this fit the page a little better. I believe this is Ethan with his head. We could just see his nose, his mouth, but that's definitely Ethan right there. So you can see they were really good friends. And then this photo, I've showed on the channel before. This is Emily and Hunter. And then but I think Emily has brown hair now. And then this is Ethan and Xana. And you can see how tight everybody was. All right, so let me check in with chat. See where you guys are at on this. And I am going to be doing a talking today on the Summer Wells case, and also on the students. So let me pull this up. All right, let me check in with chat. I do want, and we're not done, but I just do want to say thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Subscribing is free, and I can't get to 50,000 subscribers without your help. And I want to say thank you to our producers, Njaz, Sasha Angel, George Brown, Pepper, and Christy Valentine. And thank you to our channel members. So what do you guys think about Bill Thompson and his clapback on Ann Taylor? So it sounds like they do not want this trial postponed. The victims' families don't want this trial to be postponed. So the only one who really wants this trial to be postponed is BRYAN KOHBERGER. Now, I do think it's significant that the defense team has been able to meet all of their discovery deadlines. They've had all of the same information that the judge has had, that the prosecution has had. And if the prosecution can be ready to go, then it just seems like the defense should be ready to go also. I also want to do super thanks and coffee gratitude to Hound Lover, Brother Mike, and Kaylee, and also gifted channel memberships to Njaz and Njaz. Thank you so much, you guys. This is from the last live stream that we talked about. So let's go to this. Okay, so the prosecution, we talked about that they did file a response to it, and that they just weren't having it. They really pushed back and talked about the victims' rights, which I think are significant. The victims in Idaho have rights to, moving the trial forward in a timely manner also. And there's going to be, we had the Dateline NBC, and yes, there's a book coming out, but I think all of this can be handled in voir dire, in my opinion, with the questions to weed out people who know about the trial. So this is the iconic picture that Kaylee posted. She posted this just hours before she was done away with. There's Kaylee's here, Maddie's here, Dylan, Ethan, Xana, and this is why they were questioning. Xana was dressed all in black, and then Bethany, because Xana was in black, but that's not to be confused with the man with the bushy eyebrows. So the Dylan and Bethany have also been deemed by the judge, who's seen a lot more evidence than we have, as victims. So the judge is saying that not only are Ethan, Xana, Kaylee, and Maddie victims, but also Dylan and Bethany are victims as well. And the judge has seen more evidence than we have. So I do think that we should, consider what he is saying. He knows a lot of stuff that we just simply don't know. All right, so let me check in with you guys and see where we are at. Take a couple of questions and comments. So come on up. If you're watching, come on up and talk to me. I want to say thank you to Vicky for gifting a reporter room membership. Thank you so much, Vicky. And so if you received that membership from Vicky, please make sure you say thank you. And thank you to Njaz for gifting, oh my gosh, 5 reporter room memberships. So if you received that, please make sure you thank Vicky and Njaz. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate that. It's really, really kind and generous of both of you. And let me just write that down. Vicky G. Okay. All right. So thank you so much to both of you for gifting those. And there's our other head mod, 6 Cents Amelia. So if you guys think that this traffic accident, do you think, I think she's going to try to raise sympathy. Now, maybe he did have a terrible, terrible accident. I don't know. And maybe he had a head injury, which, maybe would explain what happened. Yeah, Andrea says, how generous of them. Very, very generous. Very, very generous. Brother Mike says, wow, and Jazz. Jessica said, how can you tell who gifted you the membership? Well, it's going to be either Vicky or Njaz. Warren says, victims and families don't deserve this from the defense. It's disgraceful, and Ann Taylor knows it's BS. Vicky says, hands, yellow heart. Donna says, congratulations. That's cute. Hi, Princess 65. Beth says, just like I know nothing about the Karen Reed details, despite all the publicity, I could be a juror easily. This case can get unbiased jurors. Yes, I agree. I think you're right, Beth. And I'm the same way. I don't know hardly anything about the Karen Reed trial, even though it's had a lot of publicity. And even with the Lori Vallow Daybell trial, I mean, obviously I do know about that one. But they were still able to seat jurors after she was convicted. After Chad was convicted, her husband, her latest husband number 5 or 6, whatever number he is, they could still seat a jury in Arizona for finding her guilty for Charles Vallow, which was her husband, Lori Vallow Daybell's husband. They could seat a jury to do the conspiracy case where she conspired with her brother. I can say that now because she was found guilty of trying to do away with Brandon Boudreaux. So if they could seat a jury on that, they can seat a jury on this one. Dab thinks it's a bunch of bull. Donna says it's a pity party. Amelia says personality changes as the result of an accident or head injury would have been evident before a crime was committed. Betsy said, scroll up and you'll see your name. Thank you for that. Royal says, thank you, NJAS, for the membership. Patty says, I was in a car accident back in 1957 when I was 11 days old, and being 67 years old, I know I have not done away with anyone. Heather says, everyone is so kind here. Thank you, Heather. And Jess says, if you would like to become a channel member, here is the link. Yeah, if you'd like to have your name appear like this and have a check mark next to your name, you can do that. Betsy says, there is a ton of people who know nothing about this case. My neighbors have never heard of it. Many don't watch true crime or the news. Right. Exactly. Hey, Blackhawk. Jennifer says, I'm a true crime junkie, and most of my friends do not know about this case, Daybell case, etc. Exactly. I think there's like a very small number of us that are like, just, have every detail on this case. And you guys are definitely part of that club. I don't think a lot of you guys watching would be, jurors in the case just because you are so into the case. But a lot of people haven't followed it at all. Girl Friday said, I was watching Lori Vallow. Just keep up with it all. Yeah. And Dana says, there's a ton of people who don't know anything about true crime cases. Most everyone I know doesn't watch this stuff or follow it. Don Marie says, thank you for the membership. And Jazz, you have no idea how stoked I am. You are awesome. Love you. And we're going to be doing a channel members live stream. I'm going to schedule that. It won't be today. It'll be Sunday night. I'll be scheduling that for Sunday night. Zero said, now that America's out, a lot of interest may shift from true crime. Brother Mike says, mods, please help in the chat. Welcome others. Remind others to press the thumbs up. Thank you so much for that, Brother Mike. Thank you for modding today. Andrea said, most of the people I talk to know nothing about this case. All right. Beth said, how many athletes have concussion issues and brain damage but don't become, schmurderers? Exactly. Hound Lover says, Lori is, my brother had childhood of TBI, traumatic brain injury, because he wanted to become Evel Knievel. Evel Knievel is a motorcycle daredevil, but he never erased anyone, never did away with anyone. Thank you for sharing that. Betsy says, I know nothing about the Karen Reed other than there was a mistrial, just wasn't interested. So that is really helpful to know. And Dion says, I was in a head-on wreck, got a brain stem injury. And Dana wants to know who got the channel memberships. If you got it, please say hello. Jeannie says, or Janine says, no, Jeannie. Ooh. Got a little technical issue happening here. Shouldn't the fact that he was in the car accident be brought out under the mitigation phase? I was in a car accident at 15. I never unalived anyone. I wonder if the jurors are going to be sitting there thinking the same thing. But she has time for all of that and time for 5 mental health experts, but can't get ready for the trial. I think she is ready. I just think she benefits from a delay. Amelia says, interested. This is our other head mod, 6 Cents Amelia. Interested in discussing this case and others, you can join our Reporter Room Facebook group. That girl upstairs said, I'm 54. I'm so sorry. I suffered from PTSD and I have never considered doing away with anyone. Jennifer says, I think the Karen Reed case is a small town politics, too much to keep up with. And Patsy said, I live 30 miles away from where this happened. One day after he was arrested, I went to Kate's Cup of Joe. One day there was a white Elantra in front of me. That was creepy. And Royal says, I received a channel membership. Welcome. And Leslie says, I know I'm in the bushes, but I keep getting kicked out of stupid phone. And Heather's saying StreamYard has been glitchy. Yeah, I could not even get on yesterday. I couldn't change the time of my live streams. And people were like, well, just go to another platform. But I have stuff prepped on this platform that I couldn't even log on to get to move to another platform. So I just ended up having to move the day. I did find out what happened though, because I got a ticket, but no answer on how to fix it or anything. It was just really frustrating. And then I found out that they're saying that it was a Google issue, that it wasn't their issue, that there was some kind of an issue with Google and logging into their platform specifically. So I hope that's true, because I don't want to have to encounter that again. I was all ready to go live. I prep. I had a different show ready to go for yesterday. It was just really frustrating because breaking news yesterday isn't breaking news today. Mama said, why would the courts allow Ann Taylor to take on another capital punishment case? Why would she do it if she really didn't have time to do this one, right? So let's talk a little bit more about this special. So Emily and Johnson and Hunter are now speaking out. And let me show you a more updated photo of what they look like. So this is Emily. This is what she looks like now. And in a lot of the photos that we have of her, she does look a lot of people thought that she was actually, if you look at this photo, a lot of people thought that she looked like Bethany. So a lot of people were identifying her as Bethany in some of her photos, because she does have a round face and blonde hair, but she does look different now. And she still has the light hair, but she's just looks like she's darkened it a little bit, or maybe it's just the lighting. And then this is what Hunter looks like now. This is Hunter Johnson, not Hunter Chapin. But basically, Emily and Hunter are now speaking out. So we have more witnesses coming forward. This is going to keep happening in the 4-part docuseries, One Night in Idaho, the College Schmurders. And it's going to be on Prime Video on July 11th. So they're speaking out for the very first time. And they defended Kaylee. They defended Dylan and Bethany and said, we were a big group of friends. Why would you just target those 4? And I don't know if they were targeting 4 or if they were just targeting just 1 and it ended up being 4, or maybe 2 and it ended up being 4. But we do know now that they were called by Dylan to come over, that she didn't want to go through the house before. So you can see there's a real reluctance on the part of the roommates to call law enforcement. And I do think it's related to underage drinking. So she did ask Emily, to come over and check the house because she was scared. This is according to Emily. And she said that she and her boyfriend Hunter came over to the house and met Dylan and Bethany at the bottom floor of the 3-story home. Hunter, Bethany, and Dylan all made their way to the 2nd floor, with Hunter going in to grab a kitchen knife. So we're getting a better idea of when the knife was grabbed. I've had that question. And at that moment, they saw Xana lying on the floor. So you remember Xana's room was where Ethan and Xana was on the 2nd floor. And they recalled that awful moment in the in the Amazon Prime trailer. So it says, I stepped foot in the house and immediately Hunter was like, get out. Someone call 911. So it sounds like Hunter is the one that went up the stairs a little bit and came back down. That's just speculation on my part. But a panicked 911 call was then placed from Bethany's cell phone. And in the call, you can hear Emily is heard speaking to the dispatcher saying that they saw some man in their house last night. And now this is Hunter Chapin, not to be confused with Hunter Johnson. This is Maisie Chapin. These are Ethan's. He was part of a triplet. This is his brother and his sister, Maisie. So they also Hunter talked about people thinking that they were the M word, that they had done away with their friends. He said Emily says they were getting threats. And another friend reveals photos of his home that were posted online as he was accused of having something to do with it. The series delves into the online rumors and speculation that filled the void before BRYAN KOHBERGER was arrested on December 30th of 2022, and some of the victims' friends faking shocking allegations, online attacks, and threats. And as no arrests were made, no suspects were named for weeks after the murders. So both of Ethan's triplet siblings, Hunter and Maisie, just graduated, and they said, this is Hunter Chapin, said about the terrifying aftermath where their brother's person who did away with them was still at large. He said, there's this person out there who had just done away with our brother. I'm watching my words here. And he was still out there, he recalls. The show also features interviews with other friends and family members, including Ethan Chapin's parents, Stacy and Jim Chapin, and Maddie Mogan's parents, Karen and Scott Laramie. So I think it's going to be her mom and stepfather that speak out. And they says here that BRYAN KOHBERGER was arrested at the age 30. He's 30 now. He was arrested when he was 28 years old. So we're going to find out. There's a critical hearing that's going to take place next week where we could find out that there's going to be another delay if Ann Taylor gets her way on this. What I think is that because so many, we have the jury questionnaires went out and we have all of the subpoenas. We know that BRYAN KOHBERGER's parents and sister were subpoenaed. We also know that these other 5 witnesses for Ann Taylor's mitigation phase, that they were subpoenaed. So we're going to find out, if we get the delay. I think if there is one, it's not going to be a long delay, but I hope that there's no delay. I think we need to get this trial, and this judge needs to keep this train on the tracks because there's going to be more specials. There's going to be more books. So this is the house for those of you who are not familiar with it. It is 3 stories, and because the house was turned down, courtesy of the University of Idaho, who didn't want the crime, at the objection of the families, we'll never know if how the sound travels in this house, which I think is, something the jury might want to know. You can see there's the first floor and the second floor. There's Hunter. And this is the what the thumbnail looks like for the one night in Idaho. There's Brian's thumbs up picture. And then this is one of the last photos that was taken of everybody. It was taken that day. But I'm just wondering if they are gonna do a delay on this. So prosecutors also found cell phone records that placed BRYAN KOHBERGER at the 1122 King Road home. We had originally heard that there were 11 times that phone pinged within 100 meters of the 1122 King Road home. Now we're hearing, with the 12th time being on the day of the crime, and now we're hearing that it's 23 times, that the FBI found 23 times. It was also connected to the crime because the K-bar leather knife was found underneath and to the side of Maddie. And so jury selection right now, as of today, is scheduled to begin July 30th, and the trial is set to schedule to begin on August the 11th. But we'll see how that goes, if the judge decides to continue on or not. And I think what it's going to come down to is who leaked. Who leaked? And if it was Ann Taylor and the defense team leaked, then I don't think they're going to get a delay. If it turns out that it was a prosecution leak, she might get a delay. But I'm not really sure how that's going to be handled. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to be doing a live stream right now on the Summer Wells update, and also Lily and Jack, as we're coming up in just a couple days on the 4-year disappearance anniversary of Summer Wells. And Jennifer says, I had to pause and walk my 4-legged baby. Thank you, Reporter Room, for your hard work and letting me be part of your community. Happy weekend, Chatter. Yeah, happy Friday, you guys. Claudia says, what's going to happen now with another documentary? More leaks, more excuses. Right, because now we have more witnesses. Hunter and Emily and Josie are all witnesses. So now we have more witnesses. So, at what point is it going to be? And I think the gag order, let me know if you have a different feeling. I think the gag order was ridiculous. When you are telling victims, family members, that they cannot speak out about the death of their loved ones, I think the gag order has gone off the rails. I mean, this is a freedom of information, as long as it doesn't impede Bryan Kohlberger's right to a fair trial. But there's always going to be more delays. There's more reasons to delay, because I think the books are going to keep coming. I think the specials are going to keep coming. I don't think anything's going to just stop for the trial. It's just going to get worse. And if Ann Taylor wanted to preempt all of this, then maybe she shouldn't have waived Bryan Kohlberger's right to a speedy trial. A lot of people feel like that was a tactical mistake, that they don't think that the prosecution could have been ready. Some people think the prosecution would have been ready if in time for a speedy trial. I think the prosecution's been ready for a while now. I guess I just don't understand why the defense isn't ready. But we'll find out from the judge what he decides to do, because he ultimately gets to make the decision. So follow me over for the Lily and Jack live stream, which is going to happen right now. And we're going to do an update also on Summer Wells over there. And if you haven't subscribed, you guys, I can't get to 50,000 subscribers without your help. Please subscribe and let me know what you think about all of this in the Thank you for coming by to spend a little bit of time with me. Drop me a comment, give this a thumbs up, and let me know if you would like me to continue to cover the Summer Wells and Lily and Jack case, as well as the Idaho case. I'm also considering doing a deep dive into the Brandon Boudreaux, Lori Vallow Daybell case, where she was just found guilty of trying to do away with him. A lot of people think that his former wife, Melanie, might have also been involved. Let me know if you would like me to look into that also.